Recently, I completely restarted my dice deck building roguelike game from scratch and switched it over from making it in Unity to on the Playdate, which is a small handheld indie console with a crank. So let's take a look at how that first month of progress went. The first week mainly consisted of creating a bunch of mockups and just in general coming up with a new flow for the game. Most of the design decisions for the gameplay were covered in that last video, so check that one out if you're interested in it. I also got the basic implementation for the different parts of the mockup displaying on the system, as well as a simple idle animation made for the player, and the ability to move the cursor through the dice that's in your hand and press B to bring up the dice info panel. Week 2 was all about getting the selection and rolling systems in place. Each turn you can select 4 of the 7 dice you drew, then an indicator will pop up telling you that you need to turn the crank on the device to actually roll them. Around this time I started messing around with using GitHub Copilot in my project, and it was my first time using a tool like this, and I was really surprised with how well it worked. It was a time saver for setting up a lot of boilerplate code or when dealing with simple functions. Definitely something to look at if you haven't before. Now when you actually roll, you'll notice that it scrolls through all the dice side images, and those are actually created dynamically when you load the game, and I just reuse all of those images across all instances of that dice type. That makes it super simple and allows me to change around the values, abilities, or effects, and I don't have to make any changes to the art. First up this week, I polished up the dice rolling so you only see the selected ones at the end. Next up, after the player rolls, they actually roll again. You'll have the option to select certain dice that you want to keep and others you want to re-roll. Think like Yahtzee. And you can do this up to whatever your current roll amount is, which can be increased throughout the course of a run. Just ignore that roll count right now though, that's just a placeholder. The reason I wanted to do this is that it gives the player more agency in the outcome of a battle. Especially in a game centered around random elements, I want to make sure that the player has some extra influence in order to make it more skill-based. Having randomness in games is a lot of fun, but you don't want a player to come out of a battle thinking that they lost exclusively because they got unlucky. Also, making sure to have interesting player decisions is one of the most important factors to make a game feel fun and exciting. If there's a clear strategy that you can just follow, and it gets really boring real fast. By giving the player more options to affect the outcome of a battle, it makes it way more engaging. For example, if the gameplay loop was that you draw 4 dice and roll all of them with no rerolls, the only decisions are what to use each dice on and in what order to use them. Compare that now to what's currently in place, where you have to choose 4 of the 7 dice drawn, then you need to decide if you want to risk a reroll on each one, and then which order and what to use it on. Not only are these just extra decision-making opportunities, but they're multiplicative in nature, not just additive. The first decision of which dice to roll creates these large decision trees that branch out with each subsequent decision. Now, there's obviously a line where too many decisions can become too complicated and overwhelming, but in general, giving players these options is extremely important. Going into week 4, I wanted to try and get the full basic battle loop finished. So let's rapid fire each of the things I got done. There's now a cursor target selection after all the dice rolling, the enemy UI and health are now linked, there's a screen shake when you deal damage, a shield with a current amount that pops up when it's active, each enemy will also now show their action above their head along with the time until it occurs, and there's a slide animation on the dice when you draw a new hand. My next goal is to work on getting a vertical slice of the first section ready so I can send it out to people for playtesting. What I still need to get done for that is to make a map system, handling different events like chests, shops, and resting points, creating a boss for the first area, and then it's just mainly extra dice and enemies to add some variety to the battles. If you're interested in any of that at all, then stick around for the next video, and thanks for watching.